America, the land of opportunity, a place where education opens doors to the future. But what if, hidden within this system, lies a growing threat, a silent infiltration, shaping the very foundation of U.S. academia, politics, and even national security? Every year, hundreds of thousands of Chinese students come to the U.S., seeking knowledge, innovation, and a better future. But behind many of these bright minds, there's something far more complex, an invisible hand guiding them, watching them, and in some cases, using them. The Chinese Communist Party isn't just interested in educating its citizens abroad. It's interested in influence, control, and sometimes espionage. This isn't speculation, it's happening. The FBI has warned of a rising number of espionage cases linked to students and researchers. U.S. universities have received billions in undisclosed foreign funding, much of it from China. And as tensions between the U.S. and China reach new heights in 2025, the question becomes urgent. Is America unknowingly funding its own downfall? Today, we'll dive deep into China's hidden influence on American universities, how the CCP controls students, how billions in funding shape research priorities, and how espionage isn't just a movie plot. It's a real and growing problem. But this isn't just about China. It's about America's response. Should the U.S. ban Chinese students altogether? Should universities cut ties with Chinese institutions? Or is there a more strategic approach? Let's break it all down. Right now, across American campuses, there are more Chinese students than ever before. Over 350,000. That's more than the entire population of Pittsburgh. They walk the same halls as American students, attend the same lectures, and dream of a better future. But not all of them are just students. Some of them carry more than just books and laptops. Some carry a mission. The Chinese Communist Party doesn't just send students abroad for education, it sends them with instructions. Some are pressured, some are recruited, and some don't even realize they're being used. Take the case of Ji Chao-kun. He was a Chinese student in Illinois, studying engineering. On the surface, just another bright mind looking for success. But in 2023, the FBI uncovered his real mission. He was gathering intelligence on U.S. engineers and scientists for the Chinese government. He was caught, but how many others weren't? And then there's the case of Guan Lei, a Chinese student at UCLA. When the FBI started investigating him for ties to the Chinese military, he destroyed his hard drive, trying to erase evidence. Too late. The truth came out. He was secretly working for China's military research programs. These are just two cases, two students out of hundreds of thousands. But how many more are there? How many have slipped through the cracks? The reality is complicated. Most Chinese students are just here for an education. Many of them love America, want to build a life here, and have no interest in politics. But some, whether by force or by choice, serve a different purpose. And the bigger question is, why are U.S. universities allowing this to happen? Are they too naive, too blind to the risks? Or are they simply too greedy to care? Every year, Chinese students pour billions into the U.S. education system. Full tuition, no financial aid. For universities, that's an irresistible deal. They welcome the money, but in doing so, are they also welcoming a Trojan horse? If this is true, what should be done? Should the U.S. limit student visas? Should it tighten background checks? Or would that be unfair? Coming up next, we'll explore the deeper layers of China's influence, how money, research, and power intertwine in America's universities. They come to America seeking knowledge, opportunity, and freedom. But for some Chinese students, the shadow of the Chinese Communist Party follows them wherever they go. You may have heard of the Confucius Institutes, a so-called cultural exchange program funded by the Chinese government. In recent years, these institutes have been shut down across the U.S. But did they really disappear? Not exactly. They've been rebranded, renamed, and in some cases, simply moved to other university departments. The same funding, the same mission, just a different disguise. But Confucius Institutes are just one piece of the puzzle. The real control happens in the shadows, through surveillance, through peer monitoring, and through fear. Imagine this. You're a Chinese student at an American university. You express a political opinion in class. Maybe you criticize the CCP. A few days later, you get a message from a classmate warning you to be careful. That classmate isn't just another student. They're an informant. This happens more than you think. The CCP has built an invisible network of informants on U.S. campuses. Chinese students monitoring each other, reporting back to handlers in China. Some do it willingly. Others, they do it because they have no choice. And then there are the threats. You speak out against the CCP, your family back home might get a visit, a quiet warning. Maybe a job is lost, maybe worse. Take the case of Chen, a Chinese student studying in the U.S. He attended a pro-democracy event, just a simple gathering. Days later, his parents received a call. The message was clear: tell your son to stop or there will be consequences. Fear is a powerful weapon, and the CCP uses it well. They don't need to send agents to every American university. They don't have to, because the system polices itself. But sometimes, fear isn't enough. Sometimes they need leverage, blackmail, and for some students, that means being forced into espionage. Let's talk about Li, a Chinese student who was arrested in 2024. He was caught trying to steal sensitive research data from an American university lab. But why? Because the CCP had something on him, a secret, a mistake from his past. They found it, used it, and controlled him. This isn't just about individual students. This is about a system designed to extend the reach of the CCP into the heart of American academia. So the question remains, how do we stop it? Do we ban Chinese students entirely? Do we increase surveillance? Or is there another way? In the next section, we uncover the financial ties that make this influence even harder to break. How American universities are not just complicit, but dependent. Money talks. And in American universities, it speaks louder than national security. Over $60 billion. That's how much foreign funding has flowed into U.S. universities in the past 2 decades. And a significant portion of that, it comes from China. The question is, what does China get in return? The answer, influence, control, and access. Let's be clear, this isn't just about Chinese students paying tuition. This is about direct funding, research partnerships, endowments, money that comes with strings attached. Imagine you're a university administrator. A Chinese company, let's say Huawei, offers your school millions in research grants. The money helps fund cutting-edge technology. It supports faculty. It attracts more students. But what happens when that same research ends up in the hands of China's military? What happens when American universities become unintentional contributors to the Chinese Communist Party's technological ambitions? This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's happening right now. In 2024, a major U.S. university was exposed for its long-standing research ties with a Chinese institution linked to military technology. The school had received millions in funding. Professors collaborated on projects related to AI, quantum computing, and biotechnology. And yet, when questioned, university officials denied any wrongdoing. It's just research, they said. It's academic collaboration. But here's the problem. China doesn't do just research. Every major technological advancement, especially in AI and military tech, is seen through the lens of national power, and the CCP plays the long game. So what happens if the U.S. cuts off Chinese funding entirely? What if tomorrow every American university rejected Chinese money? The impact would be immediate. Some schools, especially those heavily dependent on international students and foreign grants, would face financial crises. Tuition costs would rise. Research programs would shrink. Professors relying on foreign grants would lose funding. But the bigger question is, should America allow its universities to be financially dependent on a geopolitical rival? A rival that openly states its goal to surpass the U.S. in global influence, technology, and military power? Universities argue that cutting Chinese funding would hurt academic progress. But at what cost? How much is too much when it comes to national security? This is the $60 billion question. But this isn't just about money. It's about something even more dangerous: access. Access to America's intellectual property, to its brightest minds, to the innovations that shape the future. And if we don't address it now, will we one day wake up to find that the U.S. is no longer leading the world, but following? In the next section, we'll explore an even deeper problem: espionage, the direct theft of U.S. technology, research, and secrets. In the last few years, espionage cases involving Chinese students have skyrocketed. The FBI has been sounding the alarm, warning that the U.S. is facing an unprecedented threat from inside its own borders. The FBI's director, Christopher Wray, has been outspoken about the growing number of cases where Chinese nationals, many of them students, have been caught attempting to steal sensitive information, from government secrets to cutting-edge technology. These students, often seen as innocent individuals pursuing education, have in some cases been manipulated or coerced into espionage. What makes it even more disturbing is that this isn't just about a handful of cases. It's a systemic issue. The question now is, how is the U.S. responding to this rising tide of espionage? One of the most recent legislative moves has been the introduction of the Stop CCP Vices Act. This bill, introduced by Republican Congressman Riley Moore, aims to bar Chinese nationals from studying in the U.S. It's being pitched as a solution to curb China's influence in American academia. The bill has stirred up a fierce debate. On one hand, it's seen as a necessary measure to protect U.S. national security. On the other, it's raising serious concerns about discrimination and whether it will harm America's reputation as a global leader in education. But will this law actually work? Some experts argue that it might only push Chinese students to other countries, like Canada or Australia, which would still allow them to continue their education. The CCP might even turn this into a propaganda victory. On the other hand, there are those who argue that a complete ban on Chinese students could be a step too far. They believe that punishing an entire population for the actions of a few individuals could be a dangerous precedent. Instead, the focus might need to be on targeted actions, like more thorough screening processes, stronger intelligence sharing between universities and the government, and more comprehensive counterintelligence strategies. The debate continues. Should the U.S. make an example out of these espionage cases by taking drastic measures, or should they approach the problem with a more balanced strategy? What's clear is that the U.S. cannot afford to ignore this threat, but at the same time, the solutions must be well thought out, as they carry significant implications for America's global standing and its relationship with China. As we wrap up this section, it's important to remember, the threat of espionage is real, but so are the risks of overreaction. Striking the right balance is crucial if America hopes to navigate this complex geopolitical landscape. In the next segment, we will take a look at China's broader strategy to infiltrate American institutions and what that means for the future of U.S.-China relations. As we look ahead, it's impossible to ignore the sheer scale of China's ambitions in the field of education. The Chinese government is investing billions into its own universities, making them more competitive on the global stage. In fact, China has been relentlessly building a higher education system designed to rival the best in the world. Their goal? To produce a generation of highly skilled professionals who will push China to the forefront of innovation. Meanwhile, in the U.S., some worry that the country's once dominant position in global education is beginning to slip. As China rapidly advances, will the U.S. fall behind, or can it hold its ground? The U.S. has long prided itself on its open, liberal approach to education. American universities have been magnets for talent from around the world, especially from China. But this openness has its drawbacks. In contrast, China's educational system is tightly controlled by the government. Every aspect, from curricula to research focus, is aligned with national priorities. While this might stifle individual creativity, it allows for a unified, focused approach. The risk for the U.S. is clear. If it overreacts to China's influence by restricting Chinese students or cutting off funding, it might lose the global talent war. This could push Chinese students to look elsewhere, for their education, perhaps to Europe or even to countries in Asia. Europe in particular has been making significant strides in attracting international students. Countries like the UK and Germany are offering more programs in English, with tuition fees often lower than in the US and China. Could Europe become the new hub for global talent? Meanwhile, China's education system is quickly catching up, especially in fields like AI, robotics, and technology. As the country builds its own research universities, the competition for global talent is becoming more intense. So what does this mean for the future of US-China relations in the education sector? The US has long been the leader, but it may need to rethink its strategy in light of China's rapid progress. If the US wants to maintain its edge, it will need to continue attracting the best and brightest from around the world. But it must also be careful not to push them away through overly harsh policies. The competition is real, and the stakes have never been higher. As we look forward, the question remains, in the battle for global talent, who will come out on top? The US, with its open system and diverse universities, or China, with its controlled approach and aggressive investment in education? Only time will tell. One thing is for certain, the future of education is going to be shaped by the ongoing rivalry between these two global giants. To recap, we've seen how China's influence is quietly but powerfully expanding in the US. From espionage cases involving students, to the massive funding of American universities, and the growing presence of Confucius Institutes. The battle for education and the control of global talent is one of the most crucial fronts in the US-China rivalry. It's not just about academic competition, it's about power, influence, and security. So what should the US do next? The answer isn't simple. The US must take a more balanced approach, one that safeguards national security while continuing to foster an open, global educational system. A blanket ban on Chinese students could have devastating consequences, not only harming academic research, but also damaging the reputation of American institutions as centers of innovation. But at the same time, the US cannot afford to ignore the risks posed by espionage and foreign influence. What we need is a strategic, nuanced policy, one that addresses these threats without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Increased scrutiny, better vetting processes, and a clear stance on espionage are all necessary. But the US should remain a place where the brightest minds from around the world want to come and innovate. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think is the right approach? Should America take a tougher stance on Chinese students? Or is there a better way to balance security and innovation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a meaningful conversation about this pressing issue. The future of global education and US-China relations depends on how we address this challenge. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on this ongoing issue. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And as always, feel free to share this video with others who might be interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.